everyone. It's been a really long time. If you are clicking on my channel or my video for the first time, my name's Leah. I'm a Ohio photographer. I just wanted to sit down and do a film collection video because I have been gathering up and collecting some film cameras that I thought would be just fun to share and go over kind of the history of all of them because I think it's really interesting and I love the look of antique cameras. So not all of them are working, some of them are just for show. Let's get into it. That was way too long, so let's go. The first camera that I have is actually, it doesn't work, but it was given to me as a gift from my mom. This is the Argus Cintar. It's a 35mm camera with a 50mm lens. This camera was made from around 1939 to 1966, which I just think is crazy. Very heavy. It's made entirely of metal. I found this camera at a local antique market and it picked it up for me solely more for the purpose of the look of it. It's just a very cool antique camera. Being from around the 1950s, it's very old and just really cool to see how they used to take pictures. Moving on from the Argus Cintar camera, this is a point and shoot film camera called the Canon SureShot. Why do I feel like I said SureShot? It's SureShot. Sorry if I said that wrong last time. I picked this up at a thrift store and was so excited to get this camera. Unfortunately, the back does not clasp the way it was supposed to anymore. I actually duct taped this camera shut in order to be able to use it. Electronics inside are starting to wear out and no longer advance the film. This camera came out from 1979 to 1988. Actually really fun. I really liked this camera. I was just super sad when the film started to stop advancing. The flash, which is super fun because you can get some great flash pictures with this camera. It's also autofocus, so it's just a very straight up, easy to the point film camera. And let's move on to the next. Okay, so next up I have this camera, which is the Minolta Maxxum HTSI Plus. This camera was actually passed down from generations above me, given to me for my first photography class in high school. Unclipped from my harness and dropped on the floor, and now it no longer shuts. So that's great. Definitely more automatic and more advanced than obviously a lot of manual film cameras. So it's definitely one if you're just wanting like to have film but in a digital manner almost. There's a lot of different settings on it for it to just do it all for you. It's fairly light. It's made out of a lot of plastic, so it's made well, but it's not too heavy to where you feel like you're lugging around anything crazy. This camera is an SLR camera with an autofocus. Goes up to 1/4000 for shutter speed. The lens mount is a Minolta Type A, and I was trying to see when it came out, but I actually don't know if it's going to tell me. The camera was released in 1998, so it's fairly newer. Still 26 years old, but a great like intro if you're wanting to kind of get into film but kind of have the camera do it all for you. Although you can do manual settings, it is a good one to find on eBay. So that's that one. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Nikon N2020. Oh, I actually had to buy a lens for this because I found this camera at another antique market and I think it was $35 without a lens, and I ended up having to buy a $90 lens for this camera. I actually have film in here right now that I am still finishing the roll for. It's introduced in 1986 by Nikon, or N2000. So they brought this as like their next version, which was the N2020. Another 35mm camera is a Nikon F mount. This goes up to 2000 for shutter speed, which is a bit different than some of the more manuals that only go up to about 1000. Really fun camera for me to use. I actually believe the lens that I have does not work with the autofocus for this camera. I do need some AAA batteries. Yeah, so I do use manual focus with this camera. I believe you can buy adaptable lenses for the autofocus. I had to do some research about this camera because it didn't come with a lens. But yeah, this has been a really fun camera to use, and I'm very excited to see the images from it because I don't know why, I just feel like this is going to be my favorite film camera. I'm unfortunately still finishing the roll that I kind of forgot was in there, so that's that one. Also, big elephant in the room. I did cut my hair. I cut it about 2 weeks ago. If you've seen any of my other videos, I have super long hair. It's been very weird adjusting to it, but hopefully we like it. Next up, we have a Minolta camera. Unfortunately, this one does not work. I haven't figured out a way to make it work. So if anyone has any suggestions on how to, I would really appreciate it, but I just don't think it's going to, which is okay. This is the Minolta X-700, introduced in 1981. I probably should have put these in order when they were released, but in 81 to 2001, so there were different models that were made. They go for around $125 right now for a good one. I would really love to figure out if I could get this fixed up because I have just heard so many good things about the X700. Probably worth just buying a new one, so just let me know if you guys have any ideas because I would love to figure that out. But this is the Minolta X700. Isn't that so satisfying? Ugh, I love film camera shutter sounds. They're just so nostalgic. This is the Minolta XG-9. This camera, one, just looks really beautiful. I think it's such a good style of film camera. I love silver and black cameras. I think they're so sleek, and this one was in such good condition. I got it for, again, $35. I bought this actually with the Nikon N2020 and left it up to chance if it was going to work or not. Yet to put film in this. I really want to shoot on this one next. There's so many to choose from for me to shoot on, so I never know which one to use. I really do like the look of this camera, the feel of this camera. It goes up to 1/1000 for shutter speed. This camera was released in 1979. It was the third release in a line of cameras that were aimed at the enthusiast, I guess. It just looks like the aesthetic of a normal film camera when I think of a film camera, and that's not by any means important. That is my Minolta XG-9, and I definitely need to shoot with it, so someone force me in the comments to do that. You know, if you want a film shooting video, or if anyone wants a comparison of the different film cameras, I would love to do a little comparison as well. So any like video showing specific images from these different film cameras, feel free to leave that in the comments below. Next up, we have 3 more cameras. My next 2 are both HoneyWell Pentaxes, and I found both of these at different times at the same antique mall and was so excited to find them. Any film enthusiasts, please don't come for me. I'm still so new to it and love learning about all of the different kinds. Pentax is a super popular brand when it comes to film cameras, but I was just really excited to find my first Pentax, which actually was the SP1000, which we'll get to in a second, but I actually found an SP500 after that. This one, the shutter gets stuck a couple times. It might get stuck right now. Yep. If I go anything like, which you think it would be the opposite, if I go to anything above 1/60 on the shutter speed, the mirror gets stuck in there until I keep like advancing the film and then shutter. The main reason that I bought this camera was for the lens that was on it. It's a Vivitar telephoto lens. It's a 200mm f3.5. I don't have any telephoto lenses for film. Because I knew I had my other Pentax that I already bought before this one, I was like, I can probably use this lens on that. These cameras are called Spotmatic cameras. It was just the line of Pentax's cameras for this one. It was called the SP500 because the shutter speed goes to 500. So that number is like what the camera can do. It does get stuck quite often, so I feel like I should never really load this camera. I do have this again for the lens itself, and as well as just having another camera in my collection on the shelf for the looks of it, which is terrible, but yeah, I'm just gonna say that now. 2 more 35mm cameras, and then I'll get to my medium format camera. So obviously, as I was just talking about, next up we have the SP1000. The basic difference of this camera from the last one is just the fact that it goes up to a shutter speed of 1000. I really love the sound of this one. It sounds so satisfying. One more. Sorry, let me get you back on track here, guys. Produced around 1974, and I truly just love the look of these, the sound of these, and just the overall user experience that I have with these kind of cameras. Quality is actually really good as well. I'm excited to keep shooting with this one. It's one of my favorite ones to shoot with, so this one has been really good and is one of my favorites. Last 35mm camera. It is my favorite of them all, and we have the Mamiya DSX 1000, and I also found this at an antique store. I love this camera. I don't know what about it makes it stand out to me so much. Ready? This one has been really fun user experience for me. Very similar to the Pentax, but the build of this camera is a little bit heavier than the Pentax is. Just a really fun like user experience for me again. The shutter works great. I've never had any issues with this camera whatsoever. So this camera actually goes for around $250, which is crazy because I got this camera again for 30 bucks. It does have a dent in the lens, but I don't care because it doesn't do anything to it. So this camera came out in October of 1974. It's pretty comparable to some of the Minoltas and Pentaxes. I believe they were probably all trying to compete with each other anyway, so most of them are probably very, very similar. I'm really happy that I found this at an antique mall because I don't think there was like any other timing that would have worked better. It's just one of my favorites. I don't know why. I just really, really love it. So one more, guys, and then we're done. I'm so sorry this is so long. Last but not least, we have my first ever medium format camera, which is the Pentax 645N. I just picked up this camera about 2 months ago. I'm going to be so honest with you, I'm still getting the hang of it. It is very large. I bought a 75mm lens, 2.8. The thing is huge. I don't think I've ever had a camera this squarish. Camera does have a light meter in it. I do tend to use the light meter, however I have a handheld that I use as well. This has both autofocus and manual focus. I have been playing around with both because the autofocus is good, however in low light it's not great, which is expected. Also, the difference between the original 645 and the 645N, I believe, was a bigger difference in the autofocusing. Super bright viewfinder in it, different lenses that are compatible with it, and there are different film backs you can get for either 120 or 220. This camera has so much to it that I think I don't even know and understand. If you want me to do more research and make a video on the 645N, please let me know because I would love to do that. Heavy. I'm just going to tell you that now. These are AA batteries, and then I have the 120 insert only. I don't have 220. And I actually got this on KEH for around $700. Also found the lens separately on MPB for about $200. So altogether, this camera for me was around $900 for both of those. That's all my cameras, guys. That was a lot. I have a lot, and I should get rid of some, probably. Thanks so much for watching this really chill film camera collection. So much to learn still, and fully know that I have so much to learn, so I don't know if I'm going to be posting more often, but hopefully I'll get back into it. Be sure to subscribe if you like videos like this and just want someone to tell you more about cameras and traveling and just showing fun photography. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.